I robbed neighbors and stole a neighbor's car and never got caught. Warning. Some audiences may find this content disturbing. View at your own discretion. Welcome to the House of Reddit. Today, we take a look at 5 recent confessions on Reddit. I robbed neighbors and stole a neighbor's car and never got caught. When me and my best friend were younger, we would drink non-stop and do all different drugs, typical scummy teenagers. Well, every time we got smashed, we would run through cars and trucks to get free stuff and money. We didn't have a car and we walked everywhere, so we would just check car doors as we walked through neighborhoods. Well, one night we were beyond effed up, and we decided to run around 3 or 4 apartment complexes in the neighborhood. We got a ton of stuff and went back to my house to go through it all. After going through it, we realized we had 4 sets of car keys, and we knew where one set went to definitely. Of course, it was the house directly behind mine. Our backyards touched and were separated by a fence. So we walked down there, get in the car and start backing it out of the driveway. Our goal was to go to McDonald's and bring it back for the pure rush of stealing a car. We got stopped by the homeowner pointing a gun at us through the windshield, screaming at us. We got out, looked at each other, and took off running. Cops were everywhere and somehow we made it back to my house and were never caught. 3 days later I had to cut my back lawn. I swore he was going to recognize me. I kept my head down the whole time. Fast forward a few weeks, I'm walking home blacked out and I decide it's a smart idea to start running through all the cars on my street I live on. I get into one, shut the door and just sit there looking through the car. I find a birthday card, open it and take the money out, and throw the card in the street. Worst part about this is I was drinking with that neighbor days later and she told me all about what happened. I was like, no way. I feel terrible about this stuff now obviously, but when you're messed up, nothing seems wrong. Don't forget to lock your doors. I spilled someone else's grandfather's ashes and scooped them back into the urn. Basically, I was staying over a friend's house while he was traveling out of state. He needed a housekeeper because he had a few important packages and visits coming up. He was fixing the house for sale, so like gardeners and repairmen were showing up. I was a little nosy, and knowing that no one else would know, I snuck around his bedroom areas. I know, I have zero excuse. He was a sort of corridor that leads into the bedroom and a nook in the wall with an urn. Me being clumsy, I fell and knocked it over. The urn, being steel or some other metal, didn't break, but it did spill. Now, I'm not a huge religious or spiritual person, so my main concern was no one finding it out. End of story. A broom and pan and all the ash was back in the urn. So far I have not been caught. He sold the house and moved the urn to his new one. I don't think I'll ever be caught, but it's nice to get it off my chest. Worked at a shipping company, stole a speaker and wireless earbuds. I used to work at this factory about a year ago now, and they would have all types of things there that you could think of. Shit like Xboxes, TVs, headphones, speakers, turntables, and once I even seen a really large set of subwoofers. Anyways, I'm working my usual shift and was bored out of my mind. I realized I could probably take a speaker and get away with it just because I needed a speaker. I would do my rounds about the factory and do my normal duties, pick and pull all things from online orders and place them on a dolly-looking thing. I would stuff my order on the dolly and then put the speaker in the middle of the boxes where it was hidden. It wasn't that big at all, it was only a Marley speaker, no Bounds Sport. When no one was looking, I would go down a corridor and look for any cameras or people. After I seen I was in the clear, I would open the package slowly and eventually took the speaker and put it in my pants. I took my hoodie off and put it over my front was it to hide the bulge and went to my locker and put it in. I eventually did wireless earbuds too that were like $300. I used church offering money to buy candy and donuts as a kid. When I was a kid, my parents took my siblings and I to church with them each week, and we stayed for all 3 services as my parents volunteered for 2 of the 3 services. Volunteer first, watch sermon second, volunteer third. So we were there for several hours each Sunday. Us kids would help them during the first service, then go to Sunday school classes the remaining 2. In Sunday school, they would teach us kids the importance of giving tithes and offerings to help those in need. So my mom would give each of us kids $2 to give for offering each week. By the time I reached 2nd grade, my friend and I discovered the vending machine and soda machine in the stairwell down the hall from our classroom. We would use our offering money and either buy chips/candy and a soda, back when everything in the machines was under $1, or we would go to the breakfast place at the opposite side of the church and get a donut and orange juice. If we ever had change, that's what we would donate instead. This went on for years until extenuating circumstances caused my parents to stop volunteering at the church and just attend the 1 sermon a week. I fooled my professor that he miscalculated my score by showing him the previous test. About a year ago I have been taking a course on that was a bit challenging. The scores of tests are usually announced online in my college. Professors sometimes do office hours where you get to look at your exam paper and make sure he or she grades it correctly. After the scores are announced I wanted to check my answers and maybe get some extra points if I could. When I entered my professor's office he told me he has taken away the exam papers and I would have to find my exam paper from hundreds of papers. He showed me a huge stack of papers in one of the drawers. Once I found my paper I realized I've been looking for the previous exam papers from couple months ago but grade was way higher than the one I'm looking for. Since the cover page of the papers are exactly the same I decided to try convince my professor that the previous paper is the latest test we did. I pretend checking my answers and I told him that I didn't have any objection to the grading of the questions. Then I asked him if he might wrote my test score wrong to digital database of my college. He quickly checked his computer and said you are right. I will fix it right away. My heart was beating so hard because I would be busted so hard if he'd just take a look to the second page of my paper. Anyway, I said thank you for his time and put my paper back to the fat stack of papers and quickly placed where I've taken them. I never got caught but it was one of the worst thing I did to someone who trusts me. I still feel bad about it. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please let us know in the comments below. Turn on the notifications to know when we post new videos. Thank you for coming to the House of Reddit.